I didn't plan on checking my personal email that day. It was a regular Tuesday, the kind filled with back-to-back meetings, lukewarm coffee, and passive-aggressive Slack messages. At lunch, I opened my inbox out of habit more than anything else. The subject line stood out like a bad omen. OMG, did you see this? From my cousin Michael. Attached was a video. It took almost a minute to load over the company Wi-Fi, 43 seconds. That's all it took to detonate the illusion I'd been clinging to for years. The footage was from last Christmas, the one I missed because of a work deadline that had secured my promotion. The same job, ironically, that had kept the entire family afloat. The video began innocently enough. Tree lights blinking, tinsel glinting, off-screen laughter echoing from the kitchen. Then I heard my sister Amy's voice. Thank God Ryan isn't here this year. We might actually enjoy ourselves. A few chuckles followed. Then Luke, my younger brother, chimed in seriously. He always acts like he's above us just because he works in marketing or whatever. My dad James added the punchline. Let him have his ego. His paycheck's the only reason we're having this dinner. Then they raised their glasses. To Ryan, my father said. To our personal ATM, Amy laughed. That's when I paused the video. I sat there, frozen in my cubicle, hands resting on the trackpad, heart racing. I couldn't even be angry yet. I just felt hollow. The person who sent it, Michael, had added one line. I meant to send this to my therapist. I'm so sorry you had to see this. Please call me. I didn't call. I couldn't. That evening, I stared at my transaction history like it belonged to someone else. Every line told a story. Monthly transfers, emergency requests, guilt-wrapped obligations, $1,200 stow my parents' technically mortgage assistance, $800 stow Luke temporary rent help, going on 2 years now, $500 stow Amy for the kids, plus all the little surprises in between, car repairs, school trips, doctor visits. Over 3 years, the number added up to just over $95,000. I had tracked it once, mostly out of curiosity. Now I saw it clearly for what it was, the cost of keeping their affection. I wasn't angry yet. Not really. Anger would have meant I still expected something different. Instead, there was only fatigue. The kind that sinks into your bones and stays there. The irony. I'd been living like a student just to keep up with them. Tiny apartment, cheap takeout, putting off a down payment, a master's program, vacations. I sacrificed dreams quietly, thinking I was helping people who appreciated it. Then came that video. They didn't just take my money, they laughed behind my back while doing it. I had become a utility, convenient, disposable, non-essential beyond my direct deposit. The next morning, I went through the motions, shower, coffee, shirt tucked in just right. But something had shifted. My steps were steadier. My mind was clear. At lunch, I logged into my bank and did something radical. I cancelled every recurring transfer, click. Mum and Dad, gone, click. Luke, gone, click. Amy, gone. The screen looked oddly peaceful when I was done. Then I sent a text to my dad. No transfer this month. I need to handle some personal financial stuff. His reply came fast. Ryan, this isn't funny. Your mother's upset. We were counting on that. I turned off my phone. That night, I drank a glass of wine that didn't taste like guilt. And for the first time in years, I went to bed without calculating who might need money next. They'd always said we were a family, but families don't toast to each other's exploitation, and I was done pretending. By morning, the silence had become a presence. 7 new voicemails. All variations of the same theme. Ryan, it's Dad. Still waiting on that transfer. Your mother's been trying to reach you. Hey bro, it's Luke. Total mess with my landlord. Could use a few hundred to bridge the gap. Hit me back. Ryan, it's Amy. The braces appointment is this Friday. You promised, remember? None of them asked how I was doing. Not one. It hit me harder than I thought. Not the money. I'd made peace with that. It was the realization that our entire relationship had been built on a financial leash I didn't even know I was wearing. I brewed my coffee slower that day. Took time to water the dead basil on the windowsill, even though I knew it wouldn't make a comeback. Some things don't survive, no matter how much care you pour into them. Then I opened the banking app one more time, not to send, but to double-check that everything was shut down. It was. The weight on my chest loosened a bit. The rest of the day moved like a simulation, finish reports, smile in meetings, nod while someone complained about the office coffee again. I performed well, like always. The difference? This time, I wasn't waiting for a break to check another desperate text. That night, they doubled down. I counted 23 missed calls, 38 text messages. Dad, so you're just going to abandon your family? Real mature. Luke, dude, they're going to evict me. Like tomorrow. You don't even care, huh? Amy, unbelievable. Grace's therapy sessions aren't covered this month. I hope you're happy. That last one stopped me for a moment. Grace, my niece, had always been sweet to me. I believed she needed the help. But was that my responsibility? Or was that just more guilt dressed up in innocence? I came close to folding. Muscle memory had my hand hovering over the app, thumb ready to send. 3 years of emotional programming was hard to shake. But then I remembered the video, the laughter, the words, our personal ATM. And I remembered something else, something small but important. No one had reached out just to say they missed me. Not Ryan the salary. Ryan the person. So I powered down the phone again. And I slept better than I had in months. 3 days later, I did something I never thought I'd do. I changed my number. It felt dramatic but necessary. Like closing a door that had been swinging open for too long. I created a new email address, went dark on social media, and let the silence settle in like fog, slow and cool. At first, the quiet was uncomfortable. Then, it became comforting. I started filling that silence with things I'd forgotten. I loved photography walks, old jazz records, cooking meals without rushing. One evening, I even booked a weekend getaway to the coast. Nothing extravagant, just mine. A week passed without contact. 2. Then someone buzzed the apartment. It was Dad. I watched him through the peephole, polished shoes, worn face. The same man who toasted to my bank account now stood in front of my door looking, deflated. I let it ring out. I wasn't ready, and I didn't owe him anything. But a few days later, Amy found me. She was waiting outside my office building, sitting on the bench near the lobby, kids in tow. Grace ran up to me the moment she saw me. "Uncle Ryan," she squealed, wrapping her arms around my legs. "Mum said you got lost, but I knew we'd find you." My heart cracked a little. Behind her, Amy looked worn. Not angry, just tired. "Can we talk?" she asked. "The kids really wanted to see you." I nodded. I wasn't heartless. I was just learning how to be whole. We walked to a nearby cafe. Grace and Ethan devoured strawberry ice cream while Amy and I sat at a table, watching them through the window. "I don't know what happened between you and Dad," she began. I didn't answer right away, just stirred my espresso. "I saw the video," I said quietly. Her eyes closed for a beat. When she opened them again, they were glassy. "Oh, you all laughed," I continued. "You toasted to me like I was a bonus check." Amy swallowed hard. "We'd been drinking. It wasn't. Don't." I shook my head. "Don't gaslight me. You meant it. Maybe not consciously. Maybe not maliciously, but you meant it. She didn't deny it. Instead, she said, "It's been rough. Without your help." I let the silence fill the space between us. Let her sit in it. "Grace still needs therapy," she added. "I know. I've helped for years. But that can't be the only reason we talk." "I love you, Ryan," she said. "We all do. In our own way." I looked back through the window, watched her kids laughing. They were innocent in this. But innocence didn't pay rent on self-respect. "I love you too," I replied. "But I can't keep doing this if I'm only loved when I'm giving." She looked away. That night, I walked home without checking my phone once. No texts, no voicemails, just the sound of my own shoes on the sidewalk, steady, solid. For the first time in years, I felt like I was walking away from something toxic and toward something better. Not peace exactly, but the beginning of it. It had been nearly 6 weeks since I'd cut the cord, since the transfers stopped, since I turned off the guilt faucet they'd been drinking from for years. The silence had become routine, not painless, but manageable. Then Luke showed up at my apartment. I hadn't seen him in person since before the video. He looked rough, hood up, hands jammed in the pockets of his oversized jacket, eyes ringed with exhaustion. He buzzed my door twice before I even processed what I was seeing through the peephole. I could have ignored it. I thought about it, but curiosity got the better of me. When I opened the door, he walked right in like he still lived there. No hello, no apology. Just, "You changed your number." Seriously? "I needed space," I said. "From your own family?" He dropped his backpack with a dramatic sigh. "You can't just ghost people, Ryan. I got an eviction notice last week." I called. I texted. Nothing. Not even a "Hey bro, good luck out there." "I'm sorry to hear that," I replied, and I meant it. Not because I owed him anything, but because I never wanted anyone to suffer, even the ones who hurt me. But he wasn't done. "Sorry doesn't pay my rent. And you know I was counting on you this month." That was it. The moment I knew he hadn't come to reconcile, he'd come to collect. "I can't do that anymore," I said calmly. "Can't? Or won't?" His tone sharpened. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're just being selfish." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of the audacity. "Selfish?" the first repeated. "After 3 years of paying your bills, Luke," his jaw clenched. "We needed it," he snapped. "You didn't. You've got the job, the salary, the freedom. What were we supposed to do?" "I don't know," I replied. "Budget? Work more than 20 hours a week. Maybe not treat your brother like a cash dispenser?" He scoffed. "Are your feelings hurt now? Because we made a dumb joke? You're going to throw away your entire family over that?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and I didn't see a brother anymore. I saw someone who had never once considered my well-being, only my usefulness. So I told him about the video. He tried to play dumb. "What video?" "The one where you called me an ATM. That was just, look, we'd been drinking. It wasn't serious. But it was honest," I said. "It was the only time in years any of you were honest with me." He fidgeted. "You're blowing this out of proportion." "No," I said, voice even. "I'm finally seeing it in proportion. And it's ugly." Luke picked up his bag. "You're making a huge mistake, man. Family's all you've got." "Maybe," I said. "But if this is what family looks like, maybe I don't need it." And I closed the door behind him. 3 days later, my inbox pinged. Subject line, "We need to talk," from Dad. The message was short and just as manipulative as I'd expected. "Ryan, whatever you think you saw, you're wrong. We're your family. We love you. Call me." No acknowledgement of the video. No apology. Just emotional bait. I didn't take it. Instead, I brewed some coffee, opened a new tab, and began browsing real estate listings. Small places, quiet streets, neighborhoods I'd never considered before, because I always assumed I'd be the one moving closer to them. That night, another email, this time from Mum. Your father had to borrow money from his brother for his medication. Is that what you wanted? To humiliate us? To make him beg? That familiar twist of guilt hit my chest, but not for long. I responded with one sentence. Dad has a pension, Social Security, and Medicare. His medication costs $43. I know. I used to handle all of it. Then I signed off and closed the laptop. She didn't reply. A month passed. I began therapy. It wasn't something I ever thought I'd do, but it helped. Talking to someone who didn't know my family, who didn't flinch at my stories, who could reflect it back without judgment, that was new and healing. I started spending money on myself, not irresponsibly, but intentionally. A weekend trip to the coast. A DSLR camera I'd been researching for over a year, tickets to a jazz festival. I began living for someone who had always come last in my life. Me. Then one afternoon, as I was leaving work, I saw her. Amy. Sitting on a bench outside my office, just like the last time. But this time, she brought both kids. Grace ran toward me again, arms out. I hugged her tightly, my heart doing a painful little dance. We missed you, she said. Behind her, Ethan clutched a toy truck and looked up with a shy smile. I looked at Amy. She looked drained, not manipulative, just tired. We've been worried, she said. I told Dad why I stopped sending money, I replied. Her eyes flickered. Can we talk? I nodded. We went to a nearby ice cream shop. The kids sat at the window, happily distracted. Amy waited until they were busy before speaking. I saw the video, I said before she could start. She flinched. I figured. Wasn't the first time you all joked about me behind my back, was it? Her silence was answer enough. You know, she finally said, I didn't think we were hurting you. You always seemed fine, because I had to be. I'm sorry, she whispered. I really am. I know you're struggling, I said, but I can't go back to being the family wallet. I won't. I get it, she said. I do. And for the first time, I believed her. When they left, Grace looked back and waved. Don't be lost again, Uncle Ryan. And I smiled. I'm not lost, Grace, I whispered. I'm finally finding my way. Winter arrived in quiet waves. It was the first holiday season I'd spent without them. No calls, no passive-aggressive group texts, no obligations masquerading as traditions. I bought a modest artificial tree and decorated it myself. No inherited ornaments, no nostalgia traps. Just warm white lights, neutral colours, and calm. On Christmas Eve, I hosted a potluck with friends. Chosen family, I guess. People who asked how I was doing, not what I could give. Christmas morning, while the city still slept under grey skies, I made coffee and checked my inbox. One new email from Dad. Ryan, your mother wanted me to write. Things have been difficult since you cut us off. Luke's back at home. Amy's kids won't get much this year. Is that what you wanted? To punish the children? There was no greeting, no Merry Christmas, no reflection, just more guilt, more bait. And even now I felt the familiar sting, the urge to respond, to defend myself, to fix things. But I didn't. I deleted it without replying. Later that night, as fireworks popped faintly in the distance, I journaled instead. I wrote about what I missed, not the family as they were, but the version I had believed in. The idea of family, that deep, almost primitive need to belong somewhere that didn't come with invoices. New Year's Eve came with an invitation to a rooftop party. I almost didn't go, but something in me, the part that still believed in fresh starts, said yes. At midnight, as everyone shouted and hugged, my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. The text was short. "Happy New Year, bro. I miss you. Can we talk?" "I'm ready to listen." Luke, I stared at the screen for a long time. It didn't sound like him. Maybe it was sincere. Maybe it was strategic. Either way, I wasn't ready. So I didn't reply. Spring arrived with the kind of soft confidence only time can bring. I'd found a new apartment, bigger, brighter. I had more space now. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. I was building something for myself, and it didn't rely on being needed. Then, in April, it came, a letter. Handwritten. 10 pages. From my mother. I sat on my porch with a blanket over my lap, coffee beside me, and began to read. "My dearest Ryan, I don't know where to begin, except to say that I'm sorry. Truly. This past year has forced us to look at ourselves, at what we became." I watched that video again, more than once. I hear my own voice in it, and I hardly recognize myself. We were wrong, not just in what we said that night, but in what we expected of you, and how we treated you for years. What started as a small loan here and there, it turned into entitlement. We convinced ourselves that we were owed something because we raised you, because you were successful, because it was easier than being honest. And, worst of all, we made you feel invisible while draining you dry. I paused to wipe my eyes. She continued, "We've had to make changes." Luke took 2 part-time jobs. He moved into a smaller place. Amy started selling handmade crafts online. Your father and I sold the house and downsized. It's been hard, but it's been necessary. We should have been doing this all along, not leaning on you. She wrote about memories I'd forgotten, childhood stories, inside jokes, times when we'd actually felt like a real family, before things got warped by pride, shame, and dependency. "I'm not writing to ask for anything," she ended, "only to say, if you ever want to try again, not as our provider, but as our son, we are ready. But only if and when you are." She signed it, with love and regret. Mum, I sat with that letter for a long time. I didn't respond right away. I needed space to feel all of it. The grief, the possibility, the caution. A week later, I wrote back. Just 1 page. "Dear Mum, thank you for your letter. I needed to hear those words. Not for closure, but for recognition. I wanted someone, anyone, to acknowledge what I gave up for this family. The time, the money, the dreams on hold, the peace I traded for your comfort. I don't know if we can rebuild what was lost. But I'm open to building something new, something honest. It has to be different this time. I'm not your ATM. I'm your son. A man with his own needs, boundaries, and worth. If you can see me as that, really see me, maybe we can try again. Slowly, carefully." I mailed it the next day. Then I took my dog for a long walk through the neighborhood. The trees were blooming. Kids were drawing chalk on sidewalks. The air smelled like cut grass and warm concrete. And, for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Not as a provider, not as a rescuer, just as Ryan, a person with limits, a man learning how to protect his peace, and finally, someone worth choosing, even if the only one choosing him was himself. Story 2, I turned 18 the day everything changed. But the truth is, my life had already been unraveling long before that. My name's Rachel. Back then, I was 17, living in the quiet corner of suburbia with a complicated family. pretending everything was fine. It wasn't. My mum, Erin, and dad, Mark, had been married for years, but the cracks in their relationship were widening fast. My little sister, Kayla, was only 5 and too young to understand what was going on. I tried to shield her, but some things can't be hidden. Dad worked for my maternal grandmother's business, a pretty successful company that started out as a chain of laundromats and grew into a whole empire of cleaning products. Grandma Nina built it from scratch, and when she retired, she offered it to my mum. But Mum wasn't interested, so Dad stepped up and took it over. At first, it seemed like a good thing, until it wasn't. I still remember the night it all fell apart. I was upstairs trying to get through a math assignment when I heard yelling downstairs. "You're nothing without me, Mark." Mum's voice cut through the walls. "This is my family's company. You should be thanking me every day I let you run it." I froze. The shouting matches had been getting worse, but this one felt final. Like something was shifting. 2 weeks later, my dad was gone. He stood in the doorway, suitcase by his side, tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Rach. I can't do this anymore. It's not healthy for any of us." "What about Kayla? What about me?" I asked, already crying. He hugged me tight. "I love you both. But sometimes love isn't enough." I watched him kneel and kiss Kayla's cheek, whispering something to her I couldn't hear. Then the door closed behind him, and he was just gone. When Mum came home and I told her, she just shrugged. I knew he'd leave eventually. I was stunned. "How can you be so cold?" "Because he cheated," she snapped. "Multiple times. I'm done pretending." That night I lay awake, listening to her laugh on the phone in her room. She sounded lighter than she had in months. I didn't know who she was talking to. Honestly, I didn't want to know. A few weeks later, she dropped the next bomb. "I'm getting remarried," she said over breakfast, like she was announcing a sale on cereal. I nearly choked. "What? It's been 2 months." "Sometimes when you know, she said with a smile. "You'll understand when you're older." Enter Jake, her new fiancé, tall, polished, corporate-looking. He moved in within days. Jake was fine, I guess. Charming in that empty magazine ad kind of way. He made a big show of helping Kayla with her homework and playing the good stepdad. With me, though, he barely acknowledged I existed. And then came the big move. "We're opening a new branch in Clearwater," Mum said one evening. "Jake and I are relocating. It's a great opportunity." I was mid-bite. "Wait, we're moving?" She shook her head. "No, honey, you're almost done with school. It wouldn't make sense to transfer now. You'll stay with your grandma. She's already agreed." I blinked. "You're leaving me behind?" "Don't be dramatic," she said, sipping her wine. "It's just temporary. So yeah, I got left." "Kayla!" cried the night before they left. I helped her pack her toys, pretending I wasn't hurt, pretending I was okay. "Will you come visit us, Ray?" she whispered. I hugged her tight. "Of course. You're stuck with me, squirt." They drove off the next morning, and I stood with Grandma Nina on the porch as their SUV disappeared down the street. "Don't worry," she said. "You've got me now." Living with Grandma turned out better than I'd expected. She gave me space when I needed it and support when I didn't know I needed it. She was sharp, organised, and always one step ahead. Then came my 18th birthday. The day started like any other, except for that weird pit in my stomach, like I was standing on the edge of something big. Mum called, all cheery. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." "Sorry we can't be there. Work's crazy right now." "Yeah, sure." "Thanks," I replied, trying not to sound bitter. But Grandma? She went all out. Decorations, my favourite food, even baked a chocolate cake from scratch. I almost forgot about everything else. Until the next morning, she called me into her home office, a room I rarely entered. She had that serious look on her face, the one that made you sit straighter without even realizing. "I've got something for you," she said, pulling out a leather folder. "Happy birthday." I opened it and stared. "Wait, is this?" She smiled. "The business. It's yours now," I blinked. "Grandma, you're kidding. I'm not. I've watched you grow. You've got more sense than most adults I know. Your mum and Jake? They're running a satellite office, the main company. That's all yours." I just sat there, stunned. I had no words, none that made sense. "I believe in you," she said, her voice softening. "But I also think there are things you don't know. About your father. You should call him. Talk to him." It took me a week to work up the courage. We met at a small cafe downtown. When I saw him, my throat tightened. He looked older, sad. But when he saw me, he smiled, really smiled for the first time in years. I told him everything about Mum, Jake, the business. He listened in silence. Then he said, "There's something you should know." He told me how Mum had belittled him for years, called him useless, treated him like a tenant in his own home. And yeah, he admitted to cheating. One time after a brutal fight. He was drunk and stupid, and he regretted it instantly. But Mum used it like a weapon, threatened to take everything, smear him in court, take custody, demand alimony unless he walked away quietly. "I didn't fight it," he said, "because I didn't want to drag you and Kayla through that mess." I sat there, trying to process everything. This didn't match the version of events I'd grown up with. "I need your help," I told him finally. "As a consultant. For the business." His face lit up. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." That moment? That's when I took control of my story. After that coffee shop meeting, things moved fast. Dad and I set up regular check-ins, mostly over Zoom or at Grandma's. He started advising me on the company, nothing formal at first, just helping me understand the books, the operations, the people behind the scenes. He still had contacts. Loyalty runs deep in businesses like this, and it turned out a lot of the old-timers still respected him. Meanwhile, I was trying to finish school, deal with college applications, and pretend I wasn't spiraling half the time. Grandma kept me grounded. Every morning started with coffee at her kitchen island. Every night ended with her checking in, never overbearing, just always there. That woman was a rock. Then one day, in the middle of a quiet Sunday, the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there they were. Mom and Jake. They stepped right past me like it was still their house. "Rachel, we need to talk," Mum said, dropping her purse on the couch like she owned the place. I was still holding the door open, trying to process what was happening. Jake didn't say much, just stood there like the human version of a shrug. "We've been trying to transfer funds from the Clearwater office, but everything's locked," Mum said, tone already edging into annoyed. "Your name's all over the accounts." "Why?" I blinked. "Because it's my company now." Her jaw tightened. "That's ridiculous. You're barely 18. Grandma walked in then, arms crossed. I gave it to her. "And unless you want me to repeat that in front of a judge, I suggest you back off." The silence that followed was thick, but Mum, classic Mum, recovered fast. She turned to me with this syrupy voice that made my skin crawl. "Sweetheart, maybe you should come live with us. We've got a beautiful house, big yard. There's a spot for you in the guest room. You can work remotely, maybe take some business classes online." "No," I said, clear as glass. "I'm staying here with Grandma." Her expression shifted again. A flash of irritation, covered quickly with a smile. "We just want what's best for you," I nodded. Same here, which is why I've been talking to Dad. Boom. That hit her like a slap. She stepped back, eyes narrowing. He told you his version of the story, didn't he? He told me the truth. And before you say otherwise, he's been paying alimony. He didn't abandon us. You told him to leave. Her voice went cold. You ungrateful little girl. After everything I've done for you, Grandma cut in. Calm, steady, lethal. You didn't do half as much as you think, Erin. And if you keep trying to undermine Rachel's position at the company, we'll go public. I have receipts. You don't want that. That shut her up. Jake finally spoke. This is getting out of hand. You think, I said, folding my arms. You tried to take what didn't belong to you. You gambled with something my grandmother built from scratch. We were just trying to expand, he said, but even he didn't sound convinced. Then do it with your own money, I snapped. They left not long after. No hug, no goodbye. Just silence, followed by the click of the door closing. I stood there for a while, heart racing. Grandma squeezed my shoulder. You did good, she said. I wasn't sure how I felt: angry, sad, relieved, maybe all of it at once. Later that night, Grandma brought up something I hadn't expected. Have you thought about Kayla? She asked gently. About how she's doing? I hadn't. Not really. Not in a way that felt like action. So we called Dad. She told him she was worried, that Mum and Jake didn't seem like the best influence, that Kayla deserved stability, a real chance. She suggested he file for custody. His face on the screen tightened. I've been thinking the same thing. And that was that. He got a lawyer, quietly, carefully, no big drama, just paperwork and preparation. At the same time, I threw myself into my first semester of college, business management, because, well, it made sense now. Weekdays were chaos lectures, exams, company calls. Weekends were for strategy meetings with Dad and Grandma. I never realized how much I loved being part of something real. Not just school or clubs, but building something that mattered. Then, 3 weeks after that door slam, Grandma called me and Dad into her office again. The investigator found something, she said, sliding a file across the desk. It was bad. Turns out Jake had done this before, hooked up with women in family-run companies, got them to move money around, invest in expansions, then bailed when it suited him. Hotel records, fake names, accounts in Belize. Worse, the Clearwater branch. They'd been trying to drain our primary line of credit into some shell company. Jake had set up under a different name. He was going to rob you blind, Grandma said, eyes steel sharp. I sat there numb, furious. They tried to take everything, I whispered. Dad nodded. We need to confront them, together. We called Mum and Jake, set a meeting, no screaming, no blindsiding, just calm exposure. The day of the meeting, Mum walked in like she hadn't just tried to ruin my future. Jake looked a little less smug than usual. We laid it all out. The shell company, the affair receipts, the attempts to drain funds. Mum stared at the documents like they were in a foreign language. You set us up, she whispered. No, I said. You set yourself up. You thought no one was watching. Jake stood, muttered something about lawyer, and stormed out. Classic. Mum stayed. She tried to cry, tried to blame Dad, blame Grandma, blame me, but none of it landed. You burned this bridge, I said. Not me, not Dad, not Grandma, you. She left quietly. For once. After that confrontation, everything changed, but not overnight. Life doesn't work like that. There's no perfect ending tied up in a bow, just small shifts. A little more truth, a little less pretending. Jake disappeared a few weeks later, like literally vanished, packed his stuff and ghosted. No goodbye, no explanations. Word got back to us through mutual contacts that he'd taken off to some other city, same routine, new target. Honestly, good riddance. Mom, on the other hand, clung to denial like it was a lifeline. Sent a couple of guilt-laced emails, left voicemails that ranged from fake cheerful to full-blown angry. I stopped answering. Grandma said it best one night over tea. You don't owe her your peace just because she gave you life. Meanwhile, Dad's custody case for Kayla was moving forward, quietly, strategically. His lawyer worked with Grandma's. They collected everything: documents, bank statements, school records, even the stuff we found in Jake's files. The case wasn't just about proving Dad was stable. It was about proving Mom wasn't. It wasn't easy watching it unfold. Court hearings are messy. There were days where it felt like dragging a wound open just to prove it exists. But then came the hearing. I went with Dad. Kayla sat with Grandma in the lobby, colouring a picture of a unicorn wearing a suit. Don't ask. Mum's lawyer tried to paint Dad as absent, tried to call the affair abandonment, but our side came prepared with financial records, proof of steady support, and most importantly, the PI's report. When the judge read the part about Jake's fraud and Mum's involvement in the attempted fund transfers, you could feel the room tilt. The final decision: Dad got full custody. I don't cry easily, but that day, I did. We walked out of the courthouse into sunlight that felt warmer than it had in months. Kayla ran to Dad and wrapped her arms around his waist. He picked her up like he used to years ago, before everything got so messy. Mum stood a few feet away, arms folded, lips pressed tight. "This isn't over," she said. Grandma didn't even flinch. "Actually, Erin, it is." And it was. The fallout came fast. The court ordered Mom to pay child support. That hit her like a slap. She'd always assumed she'd be the one getting paid, not the other way around. After that, things went quiet for a while. I threw myself into school, the business, my people. I focused on learning everything I could: operations, HR, logistics, branding. Grandma and Dad were there every step. We were a strange little trio, but it worked. The company didn't just survive. It started to grow. Some nights I'd stay late at the office and just sit there, looking at the spreadsheets and the numbers and the team rosters, thinking about how close we came to losing it all, thinking about how easy it would have been to let go, to walk away. But we didn't. A few months later, I got a call from Dad while I was in the middle of prepping a quarterly report. "Your mother came by today," he said. I stopped typing. "What?" She showed up. Said she wanted to talk. Said she made a mistake. Asked if we could be a family again. My stomach dropped. "And?" I told her no, he said. No hesitation. I told her that ship sailed a long time ago, that I wouldn't put you or Kayla through that again. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "Thank you," he chuckled, soft and warm. "When did you get so wise?" "I had good teachers," I said. It's weird how healing feels. It doesn't come with a parade or confetti. It just shows up one day like, "Hey, I'm here now. You're okay, we found our rhythm, the three of us." Me, Dad, Kayla. Weekdays were chaos. Mornings were cereal spills and missing shoes and last-minute school runs. Work was non-stop emails, supplier meetings, spreadsheets. I never thought I'd care so much about margins and packaging costs, but turns out building something you believe in changes everything. Weekends, though those were sacred. Every Friday, I'd drive home from my campus dorm. Kayla would meet me at the door like a golden retriever with pigtails, yelling "Ray Ray," and dragging me into the kitchen. Dad would be cooking something ambitious: lasagna, chili, homemade bread he found on YouTube. After dinner, we'd talk shop. Dad still consulted for the company, and I still took every word like gospel. Even Kayla would throw in her CEO ideas, which mostly involved rainbow markers and vending machines in the office. Sundays were for Grandma. We'd eat too much, sit on the porch, talk about everything and nothing. She'd sip her tea and watch me, pride tucked quietly into her eyes. "I always knew," she said once, "that you'd lead." Graduation came faster than I expected. I walked across that stage in heels I could barely manage, clutching a degree in one hand and a future in the other. Grandma cried. Dad held Kayla on his shoulders and whooped like a man who didn't care if he was embarrassing his kids. Mum didn't show, and honestly, I didn't even notice until someone asked later. Because the truth is, by then, I'd already let her go. I'd stopped chasing her approval, stopped wondering if I'd ever be enough. I was done trying to fit into a mold she built for a life she never wanted me to live. After graduation, I took over fully. Grandma stepped back. Dad focused on Kayla and his own peace for once. I became the youngest CEO in our company's history. It wasn't perfect. Mistakes happened. I got overwhelmed, burned out, had nights where I doubted everything. But I always came back to one thing: they tried to write me out of the story, so I rewrote it. And this time, I didn't look back. Story 3, you ever realize you're the background character in your own family? Yeah, that was me. Name's Natalie. And for most of my life, I was Michael's little sister. Michael, my parents' pride and joy, was born when they were fresh out of college, 23 and still drunk on hope. By the time I came around 7 years later, the vibe had shifted. I was a surprise baby. Or, as my mom once put it when she thought I wasn't listening, an accident we made work. Growing up, Michael was the walking embodiment of a parental dream. Star athlete, honor student, Mr. Charisma. Our house was practically a shrine to him. Trophies, photos, newspaper clippings from high school games. When he got into an Ivy League school, my mum printed the acceptance email and had it magneted to the fridge like it was scripture. I once won a regional poetry contest. They told me, "That's nice," and went back to watching Michael's college soccer highlights. Still, I tried. I showed up. I remembered birthdays. I called home. Holidays? I drove the 4 hours back every single time. Even when I was drowning in finals. Even when gas was almost $6 a gallon. Deep down, I hoped they'd start seeing me as more than the kid who came later. That maybe I'd become more than just Michael's quiet shadow. That illusion shattered on my 29th birthday. It was a Tuesday. I didn't expect a parade or anything. Birthdays had always been low-key for me. Usually a text from my mum, maybe a gift card to Target if someone remembered. So when the day rolled around and nothing? Not a text, not a call, not even a happy birthday on Facebook. I figured maybe they were busy. I texted them around 9:00 p.m. Hey, just checking in. Treated myself to a solo dinner tonight. Hope you're all doing well. An hour later, my mum replied, "Oh, happy birthday, sweetheart. Crazy day at work. Love you." My dad didn't respond. Neither did Michael. Whatever. I told myself I didn't care. Adults don't need birthday balloons. But the knot in my chest said otherwise. Then, a week later, Instagram betrayed me. My cousin Elise posted a carousel of photos, smiling faces around Grandma's dining table, clinking glasses, laughing over a roast. My parents, my brother, my aunts, my cousins, everyone, even my grandmother, who barely leaves her recliner these days, was there. And in the middle of one shot, a birthday cake, icing in big blue loops. Happy birthday. I zoomed in, hoping the name wasn't visible, hoping this was someone else's birthday. But I saw it my name, half covered by Michael's elbow. They had celebrated my birthday without me. I stared at that post for what felt like an hour. It felt like being punched except no bruise showed up. They hadn't forgotten me. No, this was deliberate. They remembered. They made cake. They gave gifts. They toasted. They just didn't invite me. And that hurt more than if they'd forgotten altogether. I didn't rage text them. Didn't call. I wanted to see if any of them would say anything. A week passed. Then 2. Nothing. The family group chat buzzed with memes, weather updates, Michael's promotion at work, but no mention of the party. My messages got shorter, colder. Nobody noticed. Then, about a month after my birthday, my phone rang. My mum! Natalie! Sweetheart! It's been ages. How are you? I kept my voice even. Fine. You? Oh, we're good. Busy as always. Listen, we're throwing a little dinner for Michael's birthday this Saturday. Grandma's place. Just family. Can you make it? I actually laughed. You mean like the dinner you all had for mine? Silence. Then a fumbled response. What? Oh no, honey, that was just a spontaneous get-together. We didn't think you could make the drive. It's 4 hours, I said. Same as it's been for every holiday and event I've ever shown up to. Don't make this into a thing, she snapped, her tone shifting. It was just dinner, with a birthday cake, for me. While I was sitting alone in my apartment wondering why nobody even texted me, another long pause. Natalie, you're being childish. You're 29. It's not like we threw some extravagant party. No, I said, calm now. You threw a modest birthday dinner with cake and presents, and you left me out of it. I told her I wouldn't be attending Michael's dinner, nor would I be sending a gift. She sputtered, accused me of being petty, said I was jealous. That word stung. Not because it was new, but because I'd heard it my whole life. Jealous of Michael's grades. Jealous of his popularity. Jealous of their love. No, I told her. I'm just done begging for a seat at a table you clearly don't want me at. Then I hung up and blocked her number, blocked my dad's, blocked Michael's. That night I cried harder than I had in years. Not just over the birthday dinner, but over all the birthdays before it. All the times I told myself next year will be different. All the car rides home just to be overlooked. The next morning I woke up exhausted but lighter. A week passed, then 2. The silence grew louder. Extended family started reaching out, some cautiously, some with vague guilt trips. Michael sent me a passive-aggressive email calling me selfish and dramatic. I didn't respond. And then 2 months after that dinner I wasn't invited to, there was a knock on my door. It was Grandma. She hadn't visited my apartment in years. She hated city traffic, hated walking with her cane on uneven sidewalks. But there she was. I opened the door, shocked. Grandma? She didn't waste time. Invite me in, Nat. We need to talk. She shuffled to my couch, sat down, and looked at me like she was about to deliver a sermon. I'm not here to defend anyone, she said. I'm here because I'm ashamed. My throat tightened. I was at that dinner. And I asked where you were. Your mother told me you were working late. I believed her. But when Michael's birthday came around and everyone bent over backward to make sure he was there, it clicked. We've been treating you like an afterthought, and I let it happen. I sat down across from her, stunned. She took my hand. What they did was cruel. Not just this year, for years. I saw it. I said nothing. That ends now. Her words cracked something open in me. Hearing someone finally acknowledge, it was like being given permission to feel all the things I'd buried. Everyone thinks I overreacted, I whispered. They don't want to see the truth, she said simply. It's easier to call you difficult than admit they were unfair. We talked for hours about how she'd noticed the patterns. About my cousin Elise, how she felt awful for tagging me in those Instagram photos, not knowing I hadn't been invited. About how sometimes Silence is its own betrayal. As she left, she handed me a small, wrapped box. "Belated birthday," she said. "It's time you had something passed down to you, not just Michael." Inside was a silver bracelet. It had belonged to her mother. She'd always said she'd give it to someone who reminded her of herself. "I see you," she told me. "I always have. I'm sorry it took me this long to say it." That night, I wore the bracelet to bed. It didn't erase the pain, but it reminded me I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining things. I had been overlooked, but not by everyone. Not anymore. After Grandma's visit, something shifted in me. Not in a dramatic movie montage kind of way. More like the slow unfurling of a knot that had been tightening for years. I stopped feeling like I needed to prove anything. I'd spent most of my life trying to squeeze into a space that wasn't made for me. Now, I was just trying to breathe in a space that was mine. The calls from my parents stopped, probably because I blocked them. The guilt trip texts from extended family faded too, once it was clear I wasn't engaging. A couple cousins reached out privately like, "I had no idea, that's so messed up," but didn't say much else. I didn't need a pity parade. Just honesty. And maybe some space to finally feel what I hadn't allowed myself to before. I filled my weekends with people who made room for me without me having to ask. Co-workers, a few close friends, even a neighbour who loved baking too much and kept giving me her extras. For the first time in a long time, my life felt calm, not perfect, but steady and mine. 3 months after the birthday dinner that wasn't mine, I got a letter in the mail. Like an actual handwritten letter on floral stationery, my mum's signature style when she was trying to be serious. I sat with it for a full day before I opened it. Half of me was ready to toss it. The other half? That annoying, hopeful part. It still wanted something to change. Here's how it started, dear Natalie. I've started and stopped this letter more times than I can count. I don't know how to apologize for years of making you feel like you were second best. But I need to try. It went on like that. No deflection. No, but you were always so independent. Just accountability. She admitted the birthday dinner was a slap in the face. That she had minimized my accomplishments, downplayed my needs, expected me to always be the understanding one. "I always thought you'd be okay," she wrote. "But being okay isn't the same as being seen." That line stuck with me. She didn't ask for forgiveness. Just a chance to meet up. Coffee, maybe. No pressure, no guilt. Just me listening. So, after talking it through with my therapist and taking another week to be sure I wasn't reacting out of old instincts, I agreed. Saturday, 10 a.m. Cafe near my place, neutral territory. She showed up right on time. No makeup, no jewellery. Just my mum in a cardigan that used to be mine. The first 10 minutes was stiff. Weather talk. How's work? The pastries here are good. That kind of thing. Then we both tried to talk at the same time and laughed awkwardly. "You go," I said. "I just wanted to say." "I'm sorry," she began, eyes locked on her coffee, not me. Not just for the dinner. For everything. I messed up. We messed up. And it wasn't just oversight, it was favoritism. "You deserved better." I nodded, not speaking yet. I told myself we weren't hurting you because you didn't say anything. But now I see, maybe you did. Just not in the ways I was willing to hear. That one landed. I asked her straight out, "Who decided to have that dinner without me?" She didn't dodge. "It was my idea. Your dad brought up doing something for your birthday, and I said we'd just keep it simple. No long drive. No fuss. But the truth is, I didn't want to feel guilty if you said no or if you said yes. So I made the choice for you. And that was wrong." Her honesty was disarming. No excuses. "No, we meant well. Just owning it." I asked if anyone had questioned the decision. She sighed. Jessica did. Elise too. I shut it down. Said you were busy. Probably wouldn't come. I didn't want to feel like the bad guy, so I acted like you had excluded yourself. That was cowardly. She wasn't crying yet, but I could tell she was holding it in. I let her sit in the silence. We ended up talking for over 2 hours. Not just about the birthday, but the years that came before it. My swim meets no one came to. The scholarships I won that were met with, "That's great, sweetie," while Michael got a banner on the porch. How I felt like a guest in our own house during holidays, she cried. Genuinely. Not in the guilt-trippy way. Just real human sorrow. I didn't realize how invisible we made you feel, she said. And you kept showing up every time, even when we didn't deserve it. It was weird hearing that from her. Weird and kind of healing. Before she left, she asked, "Do you think we can fix this?" "I don't know," I told her, "but this is a good start." A few days later, my dad called. From his number this time. I let it go to voicemail. It was short, awkward, but sincere enough. He didn't know what to say, but wanted me to know he missed me, that he'd been thinking about me a lot. A week later, he showed up with a toolbox he built himself. Said it was for your place, in case you ever need to fix something. It was his way of saying sorry. Not perfect, but it was something. Michael was the slowest to come around. He sent a text one evening. "Heard you're talking to Mom and Dad again. Hope that means you're doing okay. I'm around if you want to talk." No apology, no acknowledgement. Just a soft toe back into the pool. I left it on red. It wasn't until Grandma's next visit that I found out he'd been talking to her a lot. That he'd admitted he didn't realize how one-sided everything had been. That maybe the jealousy label had been a lazy deflection. Small steps. As my next birthday crept closer, I didn't expect anything. Habit. But 2 weeks before, my mum called. "Would you want to celebrate this year? Only if you want to. Just dinner or not. Your choice." The fact that she asked and centered it around me meant more than she knew. I agreed. We kept it simple. My favourite restaurant. A handful of family members. No grand gestures. No speeches. But everyone was present. Like, actually there. They listened, asked questions about my job, laughed at my dumb jokes. There was a cake. It had my name on it. Not partially, not an afterthought scribble. Full name. Big looping letters. Halfway through dinner, my dad started talking about Michael's latest promotion. Old habit. But this time, Mom gently nudged him and said, "Let's keep the focus on Natalie tonight." It was subtle, but damn did it land. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the extra chair at the table. I felt like I belonged. The dinner wasn't perfect, but neither was I. And maybe that was the point. For once, it didn't feel like I was fighting to be seen. I didn't have to earn my seat. I was just there, part of it. The way family's supposed to feel when it's right. After that night, things didn't magically fix themselves. Life isn't a storybook, but something steady had started like that first breath after holding it underwater for too long. My mum kept reaching out, but not in that overwhelming, overcompensating way. She asked real questions, listened, told me about things that didn't revolve around Michael. She even visited once just to see my new garden. I'd planted herbs and tomatoes on the balcony. She stayed long enough to drink 2 full cups of tea. No rush to leave, no backhanded comments. Just soft words, laughter, and sun warming our faces. One day, she handed me a small photo album. "I started going through the old photos," she said. "Realized there were hardly any of just you. Not because you weren't there, but because we didn't bother to look. I flipped through it pictures she must have hunted for. Me at school plays, Me swimming, laughing with my friends, baking cookies in the kitchen at age 10. Even the one where I was in the background of Michael's graduation, holding his jacket. She'd cropped him out, left just me, smiling. "It's not much," she said, "but I wanted you to have a space where you're the center." That one hit me hard. Dad came around too, in his own slow, quiet way. He started texting me, short things, photos of a meal he cooked, random YouTube links, a joke about his old truck refusing to start, sometimes just thinking about you. He wasn't a words guy, but actions? He was learning. And Michael? It took time. He didn't know how to talk to me when the power dynamic shifted. For years, I'd been the easy one, the peacemaker, the one who smiled even when it hurt. But now I had boundaries. I didn't jump to answer. I didn't try to keep things from getting awkward. Then, one evening, he asked if we could grab a drink. Just the two of us. We met at a bar halfway between our cities. Nothing fancy, just wood-panelled walls, a jukebox, a few people nursing beers and quiet regrets. We sat for a while before he said anything. He started, "I really thought you were just being dramatic." I didn't flinch, but I looked back, he continued. Old photos, old group chats, even birthday cards. And I realized, yeah, we left you out. A lot. I waited. I didn't mean to. I was used to being the center. And you never pushed back. I thought that meant it was fine. It wasn't, I said simply. I know. We didn't do a big apology hug scene. That's not us. But he raised his glass and said, "To being better siblings, maybe?" I clinked mine gently. To not being blind. The next few months were a mix of normalcy and cautious repair. We didn't rehash the past every time we saw each other. We didn't pretend everything was perfect either. But there was honesty now. Room for me to take up space. On a random Saturday in late spring, I hosted a brunch at my apartment. Just a few people, Grandma, Jessica, a couple cousins, and, surprisingly, my parents. Michael too. It was the first time they'd all been in my space. My world. They asked questions, looked at my bookshelves, admired the art I'd hung. My dad helped me fix a loose cabinet door. My mum brought homemade muffins. Michael brought his new girlfriend who, unlike his past ones, actually seemed curious about me. We sat out on the balcony after eating, passing around coffee and memories. Grandma told stories from her youth, ones I'd never heard, about how she once left home at 19 to work in a bakery 3 towns over, just to get away from her own overbearing family. "I came back when I was ready," she said, "not when they begged." That line stayed with me. Eventually, someone asked if I'd be okay doing holidays again. Not in a pressuring way, just softly. "I think so," I said, "but on my terms." They nodded. Fall came around, then winter. I went home for Thanksgiving. For the first time, the table wasn't uneven. There were no last-minute changes that pushed me to the far end. I wasn't stuck refilling drinks or ignored while someone bragged about Michael's job. I brought a pumpkin pie. People actually ate it, complimented it. My name was part of conversations. Not just when I spoke, but when others spoke to me. And when my next birthday came, they asked what I wanted, where I wanted it, who I wanted there. I chose a quiet dinner, my favourite restaurant. Close friends and family who had earned their place again. When I arrived, the table was already set. My name was on the reservation, not misspelled, not shared, just mine. There was a cake, simple, vanilla with raspberry, my favourite. And when I blew out the candles, I didn't wish to be loved. I already was. I wished for peace. And this time, It didn't feel impossible. I won't pretend it was some fairy tale transformation. Healing doesn't follow a script. There are days where memories still sting, old habits still twitch. I still get cautious around big family gatherings, still check my phone, expecting silence. But now the silence means space, not absence. I still see my therapist, still talk through the layered weight of being the forgotten one. But I'm also learning that being seen doesn't mean being loud. It means being real. I used to think love was something I had to perform for, earn, like points in a game I never signed up for. Now, I know better. Love should feel like coming home, not arriving late to a party you weren't invited to. I don't need the whole family to change overnight. I just need them to keep showing up. Keep doing the work. And I'll keep showing up too for me. For the girl who used to sit quietly at the edge of the table, wondering if anyone would notice she was there. Now she sits in the center, and she's not going anywhere.